morning, Iman. So day 9. Although I got 9 hours of sleep because I slept early last night, I still woke up tired. Yesterday we stopped filming at 5:30 because we ended up catching up with friends, and then Jeffrey Deitch called asking to do a studio tour. So after I left you, I took him to Satellite, and his first reaction was driving into Esterkal was how much he liked the cutouts of the characters. Actually, the first thing he did when he came out of the car is he went up to them and he checked the material, he was asking about it. And throughout the 1 hour he stayed at Satellite, he kept on coming back to that piece. He really liked Satellite, he called it a special place after he left. And the feedback I got was that he found that my approach was distinctive. Jeffrey is, for me personally, I see him as an uncle. I even told him yesterday, when I go to LA, I stay at his place. He's been supporting a very dear friend of mine that's my collaborator also. But this morning I was reading about him, in his beginning of his career. I highly recommend people to go to his website and actually read the intro on it. The plan for today is to continue a bit of Sirkal and then to go to the fair, inshallah.
D'accord. Sorry.
Hi, question.
Hello. Doing well, thank you.
Very well. Are these real leaves?
Yes, of course. I don't even have lipstick on.
You look great, promise. It's the beginning of the day. Maybe end of the day it would have been retired and all this. It's the beginning.
So this is an exhibition of Abbas called Recently. And what's interesting about Abbas's practice is that he's often been working sort of doing site-specific exhibitions and installations in spaces and locations. And so that's what he's very well known for. And this body of work pulls together a number of ideas and a number of works from other places that he's shown things and put them together. He says, in a typical Abbas fashion, it's like a compost of objects. Just watch the, they're very fragile.
Can we stay? But I'd like to have
okay,
a background,
not the, okay, let me, okay. So he says it's a bit of a compost in terms of how everything fits together. These two works were part of the Calder residency that he did in France last year. These two works were part of the show the exhibition he did at Villa Stuck. These two works are brand new, created especially for this show. And then the work here is a work that he's done, he's been working on for a while. A lot of his works he titles studies, and a lot of what he's doing is really interesting in the way that he kind of revives and looks at things again and again in terms of things. In terms of, I love it, Hockey Night in Canada.
That's the sound?
Yeah. A lot of what he's interested in is relationships with nature, animals, land, gardens, property, and where these sort of things sort of bump up and meet each other in interesting ways. So, for instance, to start with the sticks here, this is called Study for a Garden.
It's a continuation of the series.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Was it the one you started at Delfina?
Exactly, exactly. So these are bronze cast sticks that originally they were wood pieces. He crafted out the hand of the wood. To make the bronze, you take the wood, you cover it with plaster, you burn the wood out, and the bronze gets filled in where the wood was. And because of that, this beautiful textural quality of this white is actually just the plaster residue from the plastering, like from the making process. So he hasn't really done anything to the work to have that kind of quality of wood, except it's all a natural process. And for him, this work, I mean, he likes everyone to have their own interpretations of what things mean. And so I like to have a little, to give you a little bit of what he does, but he is really fine with you putting your own interpretation onto this and having it as it is. He thinks it's quite obvious. Stacked like this, it sort of looks like remnants of war from many years ago. If you use them as stakes, they can demarcate property, they can kind of create and mark spaces. It looks like kindling, it looks like a fire, you know, there's a lot of associations that kind of come together with that.
I also see unity and balance here as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Any reason why there's no name labels?
So he doesn't. What he has created downstairs is a piece of paper that talks about the materials of all of the works. So that's what he sort of likes to do.
And how has the response to this exhibition?
It's actually been really good because, I mean, I don't think you can come to this and get it, but once you have a little bit of conversation about some of the ideas and motivations, you tend to kind of fall into knowing what these sort of things are about. These works here, in terms of what they're made of, these are canary bird cages filled with concrete.
Beautiful. And this is sold as a triptych, or
it's a diptych and an individual piece.
How much is it for?
The individual one is 10,000, and I have to double check on if it. I need to double check the prices of that. This work here, this is a new work. This is a fabric work. It's silk and linen fabric, and if you read the text. Again, this interest in animals and the relationship that animals and humans have. Parts of it say, I'll read you sort of highlight parts that I think are interesting. A sow was, the sentence, a sow to be mangled and maimed in the head and forelegs, and then to be hanged for having torn the face and arms of a child, and that caused its death. So here you have the application of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. So the sow was dressed up in man's clothes.
Sorry, what's a sow?
Pig. Pig or a cow? Sow, pig. Pig or cow? Pig or cow?
Okay.
Now you're...
We'll find out, don't we?
The sow was dressed in man's clothes and executed in a public square. And so then they talk about that. The executioner was provided with new white gloves. And so they wanted to make a distinction that he was murdered and not slaughtered. Right? So this very interesting moment of treating animals, and it used to be insects, animals that were all sort of being summoned to death. But I mean, why would an animal willingly kill a child? It's only if the people, the humans who were taking care of it, haven't taken care of it properly. You know?
Taking care of the child or the sow?
The sow, right? I mean, if you have animals, and whose responsibility? And yet the sow, you know, it's the same thing when you have, you know, tigers, you know, like they're not trying to go out and kill children. It's because of our lack of control, like keeping them properly in these spaces where they're not naturally kept in these spaces. It's a beautiful. It goes on. This was the text that he found. Yeah. I mean, you can read the whole thing. I just wanted to sort of give you some of the bits.
What's your background in the arts? Like, how long have you been in the industry?
I've been in for a while. I used to work with Tasha Hildebrand.
Wow. So did we meet back then?
We did. Yeah. So I worked with her for 8 years. And so that's why I kept coming in Zurich and in London, and then when she closed London, then I came here.
So she doesn't have a gallery anymore?
No, she closed it all down.
What's she up to?
She's writing a book. Yeah.
I liked Kasha.
Yeah.
I liked her.
I
And
know.
what a beautiful piece from her.
I know.
Back in the day, I remember. Very melodic, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And so, how long have you been in Dubai for?
Almost 3 years.
How's it been so far?
Good. No, I love it. I love Dubai. I used to work with Layla Heller, and then I came here in September. So it's
Where did you move from? London?
London. Yeah.
And how did you choose Dubai?
You know, I've been coming with Kasha for so many years, and there were so many artists that I'd worked with, and I thought, like, Dubai's like fresh.
It is.
You know, and I was really interested in, I mean, you come to Dubai during Art Dubai and you see a different Dubai, and I wondered, like, what was the Dubai after the art fairs are gone? And how, like, what is the artistic community doing, and you know, how is it happening?
And what did you find?
I find it really interesting. I mean, when I was first here, I forgot how many people have ties to, whether it's galleries or relationships or things that come in for the fair and then leave after the fair, and it's a very different scene once once the Art Dubai people are out of there. But I actually really like, I've just really liked getting to know the Sharjah group and the, you know, Abu Dhabi, and you know, and how that sort of functions. And I think that it's been also really interesting, like Hassan Sharif and that whole history of, you know, how that's sort of starting to be revived now. But there was this huge conceptual moment of art happening that's sort of fallen away, and yet people are starting to kind of revive this kind of history. And I think it's an exciting scene. I think it's hard because it's not a city where young artists can come to live, you know, unlike London or New York or places like that where you can kind of you go and train and be an artist. But I think there's really exciting work that's coming out here. It just comes out in, I think, different forms.
And do you have a favorite artist that's based in Dubai?
I probably have. I mean, I really like Mohammed Kazim, and I like, you know, that, but that's sort of a more of the emerging thing. And I like some of the new, young, fresh, like, there's an artist who works with Ori Shabibi who showed at Abu Dhabi Art, who did a big conceptual piece. Exactly. I think she's doing really interesting things.
I used to represent her.
Really?
As a gallerist.
I
She's
think there's.
great. And she teaches in Sharjah.
Yeah, like I think that there's a whole young, and I like the designers, like, what's her name? Hadia. You know, like in that whole little group that sort of the graphic designers, Hadia, what's her name? Hadia. And they did like a design group, and they did these fun little projects in Sharjah where they went and gave like free design to these communities. It was unbelievable. They did the project where they gave free design services to these like traditional, you know, shops, and they redid their branding for them.
That's cool.
And they worked with the owner, and they sort of like wanted to kind of see if that would, and you know, and they were like, they said, because the signs of Sharjah and Dubai are so fascinating, and so I just think there's lots of exciting energy.
What do you do in your free time?
What do I do? Sleep. I really like going into Dubai, like into the like I don't need a mall. I need a beach for a little bit of time, but I've kind of fallen in love with like Satwa and going deeper in Dera and going and like making fabric and finding clothes and all of
So you make your own clothes here?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, because there's like the fabric that you have here it's
affordable.
It's affordable, and because the quality of what the tailors are getting, because there's such a high class of people who are getting, you know, fancy designer knockoffs, they have incredible skill for making really fantastic clothes.
Would you recommend your tailor?
Yes.
What's his name?
What's his name?
Or the story?
It's that, oh my goodness.
Deepa's or Champion?
No, it's not Deepa's, I'm totally going blank.
No. So we just had a visit from the Executive Council, the Crown Prince's office, and I showed them the work in progress of Dubai Onwards, the sculpture that we're working on. We discussed potential locations and what's left to be done. And inshallah by next week we're going to know how and where it's going to be presented, inshallah. These chairs and tires from the Dubai Sea.
Yeah.
And they have these creatures in them. And so I've created this time capsule. Inshallah to be unveiled soon.
Cool.
Obviously downstairs we have a group show from regional artists, but then there's Jenny Holzer, Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
And we brought in some pieces from general friends of ours that are making clothes. And Amir, she ended up curating both the clothes and artwork that we felt reflects.
Yeah. Hi.
Is the Guggenheim in Abu Dhabi open?
No, it's not open yet.
Ah, I thought not.
No, hi, I'm Mason.
Hi, I'm
I work on
Patricia.
the project.
Oh, sorry to be.
It's interesting because the Louvre did that as well. As they were building the collection, they would have small
Exhibitions and
to
notes,
introduce people to the work.
So that's what we're doing.
So that means you're a few years away from
a few years.
Where is it going to be?
In this, yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah, it's part of the kind of
Cultural district.
It was the Louvre, the Guggenheim, and then the Maritime.
Last time we were burning everything. We were in the match art period.
I was going. Today's day 9, so the making of the film. So we're in talks with OSF, airlines, thanks. Elon, you have a minute? Congratulations, first of all, on your marriage.
Thank you. This has been the Art Dubai Mabruk, wherever I go.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So, how have you been? How's it going in Abu Dhabi and the preparations for the Guggenheim?
Great, yeah.
So-
We're continuously programming. Last month we did a fantastic program. We collaborated with Zayed University and New York University, invited students. Imran Qurashi gave a public talk. And he did a workshop with the students. We had over, I think about 40 students who did who had the opportunity to have a one-on-one with Imran Qurashi, and it was so successful that we're looking at this as a way to engage with university students, and so.
And you've been now with the Guggenheim for how many years?
Guggenheim Abu Dhabi.
Guggenheim Abu Dhabi.
5 years. Around 5 years.
And when you started off, what was your job title?
Not necessarily. The job title doesn't really say what I do, I think. But when I first joined, I was doing a lot of the curatorial and programming. But it's part of a bigger, wider curatorial working group. So there's a group of us from both Abu Dhabi and from New York, and together we make up the curatorial working group. More recently, I've been managing the entire project. So making sure like the education is linked to the project, making sure that. The timeline as well, the collections coming in to the project, just overseeing the project overall. We have over 300 works in the collection now, so it's been great. We've received a lot of loan requests, so we have a few works that we'll be exhibiting in retrospectives around the world that are from our collection. Ibrahim Salahi's Untitled from 1964 is on view at the Louvre Abu Dhabi, which is one of the most beautiful, spectacular pieces.
Beautiful. And the collection is from all over?
Yes, so it's global, but with a focus on the region, Wanasa, so it's West Asia, North Africa,
Wanasa.
South Asia.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the construction is expected to start?
We don't have a date yet, but we're hoping in the next year or two that would be moving forward. But we're continuously working on other programs as well.
What have been the biggest challenges you faced in the last few years?
I think it's more of having the right. I think the team is very small, and a lot of us we multitask, and we have to, fit into roles that are not ready yet for the entire project. I think that's the most challenging. But I think each of us have learned so much, whether it's collections, whether it's education, whether it's building. I think that's the most challenging. But it's a challenge, but at the same time, we've learned a lot.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Especially also with the different interventions that have happened, whether it was in New York or different things from Gulf labor and all. But that's stopped now. For a couple of years, they've just quieted down. Do you think that it will restart after if the building restarts?
I'm not sure.
Well, from my side, if there is at any point anything that can be done here also.
Thank you.
Who's the head, the director of the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi now?
We don't have a director. We have a project director who oversees the project from the foundation side. He's based in Bilbao.
Which foundation?
The Solomon R. Guggenheim Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you the question? I never asked this, but how did this happen, the Guggenheim in Abu Dhabi? Was it that Abu Dhabi wanted the Guggenheim, or was it that the Guggenheim saw Saadiyat getting built and said, guys, why don't you have it?
No, it was an overall strategy and a plan to build the Saadiyat Cultural District. So it was the Abu Dhabi government who created this entire plan and engaged with international museums to work on the project. I think the Guggenheim Foundation is very experienced in opening museums in different parts of the world, and this is where their strength is, and collection building. There was one in Berlin, of course the Bilbao, people talk about the Bilbao effect until today. So I think they have the expertise to do that, and that was the reason for choosing the Guggenheim Foundation.
Any advice you want to give to people wishing to start a museum?
I think knowing what your narrative is and what to show and how to start building your collection, I think that's very important. When you start collecting, have a narrative or a theme or a reason behind that collection.
And then finally, the first time I met you as an artist, and you were a photographer, is that?
This is like 20-something years ago.
10. But as an artist, how do you think it's helped you in your current role?
I studied, my undergrad was in fine arts, and it was in photography. And after that, I taught photography at the Sharjah University of Sharjah, the Arts College. I think understanding the artist's practice and their medium really helps me a lot, especially when it comes to conservation. The relationship to fine arts and knowing mediums, I think, helped me a lot. It's not only an art historical kind of book and seeing things on slides in a book. So you kind of have hands-on, and being part of the art community helped me a lot. To work with the artists, from Muhammad Kadam and Abdullah Saadi, we went to Edinburgh College of Art all together in '99. We all studied together, and now it's So it's really interesting seeing the community, still together but in a different way.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
This was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Iman. Welcome to Dubai.
Nice to be here.
How is it in Amsterdam?
Good.
Yeah.
I had a quiet year in the sense that I haven't been to Saudi Arabia, and that I had some family issues to deal with. And actually I can share it with you because you post online if your family is. My mother was very ill and she passed away in January, so I was busy with that.
I'm sorry.
That is on the private matter. But then I had lots of visitors of two types, lots of students with their professors. studying what's coming out of Saudi Arabia in terms of contemporary art. And then I had quite a few Saudis who dropped by. Some of them artists we both know reasonably well, which is nice to, I mean, they don't really travel specifically to Amsterdam, but they go to Brussels or Paris and then hop over to Amsterdam for 2 days or something like that, which was nice too.
And how old is the Green Box Museum now?
10 years nearly.
Congratulations.
I started in 2008. Should we celebrate that? Or
Sure.
should we give a party in Amsterdam?
Yes.
Organize a specific flight from Jeddah.
Wallah, that would be great.
Make it into a pilgrimage.
And can you remind me what made you start the Green Box Museum?
What made me start the Green Box Museum is a whole number of coincidences and some rational insight. And the two main things is one, that I am of mixed Indonesian-Dutch heritage. And because of I look very white, but my grandfather was more like an Indonesian-Dutch person. And so I was in Holland irritated by the kind of what's happening everywhere in Europe, that you get this kind of back to our roots nationalism. So it's my antenna for what goes on internationally that I felt needed more attention. So that's on the home side, and on the outside, Saudi Arabia, and that I'm informed by my Indonesian roots, is culturally a very important country for the whole world because of their position in the religion with Mecca and Medina. People travel there and they take like an example from how Saudis behave. Like in Indonesia, you will have a discussion like how to behave culturally, and people think like, no, Saudi Arabia, because of their historical importance within the religion. But it's not about religion, it's, of course, the culture is much wider than that. And I don't often say that out loudly, but with these attacks at 9/11, everybody in the West sent airplanes to Afghanistan, but 15 of those guys were from Saudi Arabia. So it's more logical to be interested in what's on these people's minds that they do something like that. You know, it's not like blaming Saudi Arabia, it's just being curious, why are they doing it? Because they were right. I mean, not in their method, not in their means, but I felt that they needed some more attention. And funny enough, as you know, I was quick to collect Abdel Nasser after the first Edge of Arabia, well, before Edge of Arabia with Ahmed, and then because of Edge of Arabia I knew what was going on.
So you met Ahmed even before Edge of Arabia?
Yeah, I met Ahmed in a funny way, because I met him online after reading in the Quran the surah about the yellow cow, which is a pleasure to see. And I felt that was an interesting paragraph in the, how do you say that? I'm not knowledgeable on the Quran, but there's a paragraph where it says a yellow cow, which is a pleasure to see. And I felt that has a relationship with art, to something is a pleasure to see. It doesn't need to be, but it could be.
Sorry, 1 second. Iman, can you carry it and move it closer? Because of the car, I feel that the audio will be...
But so I thought that part was an interesting ayah, and I Googled it for its significance, and instead of finding an imam who told me what the meaning of the ayah was, I found Ahmed, who had made the installation just 6 months before that in Sharjah. And then I got into discussion with Ahmed about art, and some months later he informed me that he was curating with Lola and Steve in this exhibition in London. So I had an early warning about that exhibition, and when I turned up at the exhibition, it appeared that like everything that was interesting was being taken up, because ambassadors or sponsors didn't understand it and then don't like it and are afraid that they get blamed by their cousins and brothers, and that's the way it works. And to come back to the original reason that I started it, somewhere in that process, Abdel Nasser was interviewed, and he said, people need to know what's going on in this country of mine. You know? I need to communicate to the outside world the situation we are in, and that this some kind of mirrors my instinct of saying let's give some attention to Saudis. Of course, people from Egypt are interesting too, and people from everywhere in the world. But I can't do everything, and it's a small museum, and I found that interesting to concentrate on.
How big is the collection?
I don't know. I get the question often, but I know I have more than 140 works, but among them is like 20 small pieces of a series from Maha. So if I deduct that, all the kind of series, it's probably 70 pieces or something.
It's the only.
And it increased by 3 yesterday.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
What did you acquire in this film?
I acquired from Maha Malu one of the tapes where she puts in bread baskets, and I've seen quite a few of them. Sometimes they were too big, or sometimes I didn't feel she succeeded very well in making them beautiful. But the concept I liked, and sometimes they were too expensive. And yesterday there was one which I felt was beautiful, had the right size, and had a reasonably acceptable price. So I decided to acquire that. Which to some extent is silly that, because I know Maha, I travel to Riyadh and then I end up buying it from an Austrian gallery holder in Dubai. But it's fine. I like the Ursula Kinzinger who sells it.
You've probably, from all the people at least I've seen at this art, Dubai, you're the most that's been around the Saudi art scene in the last 10 years. What are the biggest changes that you've seen?
Oh, it's opening up. The change is the change in regime. And that's it's not quite sudden, because the family of the present king has been supportive of Ahmed and Abdul Nasser even before. But since the present king's complete control, it's more obvious that they get the space to do what they want to do. There's less negotiating with the Ministry of Culture or with the Foreign Office. I mean, I remember many times that Ahmed or others had problems with ambassadors who would take their cue from the Ministry of Culture, who would say, no, this is not allowed. And then the artists prefer to do what they want to do and not listen to what the minister tells them to do, because that's not the way to create the best of art. And that's getting better, but at the same time, I haven't really measured what exactly is going on, because it's also in risk of drowning in its success, so that it becomes too much public relations, like, wow, we have Trump visiting, let's put all these artists there.
I bought something.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Good to see you.
Well,
Alhamdulillah.
I was coming over.
Thank you. You're around for a while at the event?
No, just a couple of days.
I'll probably see you. Thanks, Harry. Thank you.
No, it risks of being self-defeating if it becomes very successful. And then there's lots of opportunity to make money, but not from really making the art, but from the public relations side of it. The exhibitions meant to convince the Americans that Saudi Arabia is a modern country. Because I collect Saudi art, I was visited like 2 years ago by the Amin Gulji, who does the Karachi Biennale. And then there was last year there was the first Karachi Biennale. So I said, well, why not have a look there? And if you're like in Karachi in the hotel, everything is Saudi there, but it's business or it's religion. You see nothing. There's no presence from a cultural Saudi footprint. They put it in Washington, they put it in Utah, and they put it in New York, but they don't show themselves in
Why do you think?
In Karachi. That's because there's two reasons for it. One, there's the marketplace is here and in the West, partly. So if you want to sell artworks, you go to collectors in London and in the West. But it's also partly because it's all these events need sponsorship. So then you have to do business with companies that are interested to put a message out there. They're not interested in Karachi, Pakistan. They're interested in Washington or like 2139, which is great. But typically you get the Swiss bank who sponsors it, and then you run the risk that there's more money to be made from Bentley and Rolls-Royce and the Swiss bank sponsoring than there is to be made from producing good artworks and selling it to people like art because that's what art was about. No? Am I right? Or am I wrong? I may be wrong.
I think you're right. And one thing I also was thinking about is what is the expected change that's going to happen with this opening up of Saudi, and how will it affect the artistic practice?
I'm still not sure. I think the most interesting thing would be if they get more chances to go to school and get materials and experience and have locations to show art and make mistakes and become better. That's what you want to do to learn how to make good art. But you also run. One of the things I really like is that people like Ahmed and Abdel Nasser are people with normal jobs, a doctor or a soldier, but have such a strong urge to express something that they end up making art. While if you like in Amsterdam you have like institutionalized art schools, you get lots of people who are like not good for any job in the world or something and have this creative urge, and you end up with lots of people who think they're artists but don't really, it's like, what shall we do after school? Let's do something creative, and then that creates a lot of fog of not.
Well, thanks for visiting us for debate.
أكيد.
What's your relationship with this city?
This city, it's crazy. I love the people I met in this city, but the city itself, لسه we haven't fell in love completely. Like I feel always out of place, lost. But you guys are so good. You guys are so good. I'm blessed to know you more. صراحة.
Do you have any visits planned for the future?
Here? Yeah. I'm always here. Like last month I was here. Probably next month I'll be here. But Sharjah more than here. عشان I work a lot with children's books and illustrations. And هناك مرة the most important like publishing house that I work with is in Sharjah.
Is in Sharjah. What's it called?
كلمات.
I've heard of it. تبع الشيخة?
Yeah.
Sheikha Budur, right?
Yeah, actually it's this logo. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your practice?
Yes. What I do for a living, يعني, children's books, and.
Do you write also?
No, I do write, but I've never published. But I'm always busy with clients. So children's books, board games. I have 2 board games in the market. واحدة اسمها ولا كلمة والثانية اسمها أرض القصص. Aside from that, my personal projects has nothing to do with kids. بس برضو illustration.
They're illustration.
Yeah, illustration. My studio اسمه رسمة وكلمة. I always every time I talk to someone about it, I have to say ما في رسمة تمشي من غير كلمة وما في كلمة تمشي من غير رسمة. مش كده اسمه رسمة وكلمة. مرسال اللي آخر project بشتغل عليه. Basically جمعت 70 رسالة من ناس قلوبها تكسرت وما عرفت تقول للشخص اللي كسر لهم قلبهم، فكطريقة من يعني healing process يبعثوا لي أنا هي، ولكلامهم يسوي رسومات، فرسمة لكلماتهم. إن شاء الله I'll do an exhibition. I'll curate it small, very small in Saudi with all the letters. Because for now I have the zine as a teaser and I'm giving you 5 copies.
Amazing.
From here it's in English, and from here it's in Arabic.
Beautiful.
So
And are they the English letters or it's a translation?
No, not translation. No, it's very international. I got letters from Kuala Lumpur, Germany, San Francisco, Beirut, Istanbul, Peru. Very international, but mostly Middle East.
And why did you select the theme?
The theme, I've been always personally interested in this topic, in relationships and heartbreaks, because it's an untapped topic in Saudi Arabia. I like to choose this topic لما نشوف قصص الناس حول العالم, they're so similar. I always say I like to make work that makes people relate. And relatable work is أكتر شغل honest. I've been heartbroken 1000 مرة. And I'm sure there's a lot of people around us got their heart broken, and نحول شيء قد كده negative to something very positive. It's just brilliant, in my opinion.
And how's your heart today?
My heart today is All right.
It's all right.
It's all right. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Always,
Inshallah, inshallah.
You're based in Jeddah, right?
I'm based in Jeddah.
How's it been the last few years? You studied in San Francisco from?
2012 till 15. 3 years. Yeah.
And since the return, how's Saudi and Jeddah been?
طبعا أنا أول سنة رجعت فيها السعودية in denial, like I couldn't believe إنه خلاص that's it. It felt, I swear to God, like a dream. Living there 3 years, it felt like a dream. I went back home, I had very long hair, and I taught in the best university back home. Illustration and storyboarding for 2 semesters. And then I quit my job, cut my hair short, I traveled. 2016, all of it أنا برا السعودية.
That's when you went to Barcelona?
Yes, I did residency in Barcelona and Berlin, and I kept jumping around, but mostly Berlin and Barcelona. بعدين 2017 بدايتها رجعت جدة مع نية you know what أنا حتصالح مع البلد دي، ححبها غصبا عني، حب من طرف واحد موافقة. بعدين towards the end of the year actually جدة loved me back and now it's mutual.
How did you feel the love?
It's I don't know if it's the timing. There's so much change happening and there's so much acceptance. فحسيت for once إنه I'm looked at بتقبل مو إنه غريبة. I felt home شوية. Yeah.
And what do you think of this change that's happening in Saudi?
It's beautiful. يعني it's too good to be real. And I'm scared because you know when you watch something like a movie where it's too good to be real and you see like this is يعني it can't change that fast. ما شاء الله like it's radical. It's amazing. But I hope it lasts. Inshallah.
And do you see this openness having an effect on the art that's being created?
Of course.
How has it affected your practice?
How it affected me and affected people اللي حواليني. ادتنا الفرصة to put the spotlight on relatable daily stuff. Before that, people were so busy doing قطع political وقطع has meaning and has like نفس المواضيع. أحد مغطى، أحد مضطهد، ست ما هي عارفة كلها نفس التوبيك مستهلكة وينسوا حتى في الأفلام يعني in general صار نفس المواضيع دائما ينسوا الأشياء الصغيرة الحلوة البوزيتيف اللي بين الناس الريليشن شيبس الداينامكس حقت الناس فكده صار في فرصة إنك تعمل regular art like زي كل العالم.
Yeah. In terms of relationships?
Not that I'm against التوبكس الثقيلة بس أبغى أشوف غيره. In terms of relationships كل شيء كان موجود already. It's just طلع على السطح. يعني it's just a term of music. I'm super happy. I told you قبل كم يوم that we were able to do our first electronic gig and I was part of it. It's the first one in Saudi that I see in بهذه الطريقة. يعني بعد ما خلصت قلت okay guys I think احنا أول ناس عملنا كده. She's amazing.
Do you have a high-res video of any of your performances?
High-res للأسف لا بس
It's like phone quality?
I have actually بالكاميرا بس it's not recording live. So في الكاميرا بس I can give you this and the SoundCloud link and maybe you can put them together. Yeah.
Any advice that you want to give people that are starting off their careers, artists that are starting off their careers?
Just be honest and don't be afraid. It's fine. You don't have to make amazing art. Just express and you will get there in a way or another. Just دائما الناس تخاف and they're afraid of failing and stuff and I just say express, do it. حتى لو في الصالة غرفة البيت ما حتطلع from these walls. One day it will يعني eventually if it's true.
Who's your favorite Saudi artist?
Okay, favorite artist I would say الصراحة أحمد عنقاوي because he's brilliant and he's super raw and as big as he gets أكتر artist humble and a friend. He's a great friend and artist صراحة. I love أحمد عنقاوي. Don't you?
Ahmed, I've known Ahmed for 10 years now.
Yeah. Isn't he so sweet? Yeah.
قلبه, his heart.
Yeah, biggest heart in the world. ما شاء الله تبارك الله.
Did you see him in the VR?
No, I didn't.
I didn't. Go to the fair.
Inshallah, yeah.
Any closing statements?
I'm so happy this happened. That's it. Yeah.
Catch up when you're back in town. Next
Yeah,
week.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
Next month.
Well, good luck with the video. I'm so happy you guys are doing this.
Eternal.
Yeah.
Eternal. Thanks, Iman.
Thanks, Iman. Love
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Where is it? I want to see it. Let's go. I want to see that.
The cutout?
لا تدعسني. I want to see.
You made the size, is it right? I don't know.
think
The
so.
size is right or off.
Is it right?
Beautiful as always. MashaAllah. Yes.
Wait, it's like this and that. Oh, I love this. Wallah, that's me. Cute, cute.
Nice outfit on the door. I like the shoes.
You, نفسه بالضبط. I need to take a photo. I need to take a photo. Same thing بالضبط. Like this. Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thanks a lot
Can I
for
see you
your
tomorrow
time.
after your podcast?
I'm here. You haven't been satellite.
Yeah, I did. First day, second day.
أنا يومية between satellite and
خلاص tomorrow كده I'll text you.
علي هلا مبارك.
How are you حبيبي؟ How's everything? لا أوريك
خلاص سيبنا الدنيا.
شوف كيف؟ لا بس معاه حق أنا ماسك بوكس نايكي ماشي زي لا خلي
اهلا كيف الحال؟
راشد معك؟
نعم كيفك يا حبيبي؟
تمام الحمد لله. وانت؟ دي استدي بوسطن باي اني تشانس؟
لا لا الي انا
اتذكر خالد سعد. هاي السلام عليكم. رامي اهلين. شو اخباركم؟ جدة ديليجيشن؟
جدة ديليجيشن.
This is your work?
ايوه.
Wow.
ثانك يو يا حبيبي قلبي.
This is amazing. Where did you show it ولا بعد كذا show it?
I showed it in Abu Dhabi في warehouse.
So good.
Thank you يا حبيبي قلبي. الله يخليك.
Brilliant.
Yes yes. This is sold so I'm going to deliver.
مبروك.
الله يخليك.
Well, if you ever want the مطوع jumping over here somewhere, these are way cutouts, so we can put them on.
حلو. أنا قاعد أصور في الانستغرام حقي.
start, I want to shake your hands and thank you
Rami.
for creating this art fair, for allowing us all. The first time I ever exhibited as a gallery was at your time. I remember. In 2010. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for creating all of this.
Well, a lot of people started galleries and projects around the fair, and actually all we did was just put up some walls and open the doors, and everyone came in. It was great.
You're so humble.
It was really.
How did the idea start? Where were you based when you thought of Gulf Art Fair at the time?
It's Gulf, it was with Ben. So remember, so Ben Floyd was out here. I've got a gallery in London. I had a gallery for 25 years. And I was involved setting up an art fair called Art London. Ben saw Art London and he said, well, why don't we do one in Dubai? And so I came out to see him, not thinking it would work at all. And that must have been 2005. It was December 2005. And it was I tell you what was on, it was the film festival. First year of the film festival, and the Medina Jumeirah was being used to host it. And we were sitting on the beach. I said, Ben, I really think this is an incredible venue. It's kind of fun. It's right on the beach. I think we'll get a lot of people coming out for it. I mean, saying that with some authority, although I had absolutely no experience in this at all. And Ben just booked the venue. The next morning. But Ben is an entrepreneur. That's what he does. And he said, John, he phoned me up and said, John, I booked the venue, we've got it from March 2007. So I panicked.
So he just told you?
So we panicked and got working on it. And then it was the Gulf Art Fair for the first year.
And how did you go about, first of all, telling the city and the people and the galleries about it?
Well, I remember doing lots of press conferences, going to talk to them. There weren't very many galleries here in 2006. I mean, Third Line was there.
XVA.
I think XVA, yeah.
Courtyard.
Yes.
And was B21 there?
Isabel, B21, yeah, she was there. And they were very supportive. I think at first they were sceptical. They wanted to make sure, because they were doing quite serious things there, and they wanted to make sure if an art fair happened, they wanted it to be a serious international art fair. And kind of that raised the stakes, and that was good. Really good. And then we got a few international galleries who were very interested in what was going on here. And then, of course, with all the announcements in the Gulf, of all museum projects, really big scale, ambitious projects, the kind of art world, or the rest of the art world, woke up to what was going on in the region. And the only place you're going to come out and meet people was at our art fair. So suddenly, with this tiny art fair, there's only 28 galleries in the first year.
I remember Gagosian was here, right? White Cube?
No, White Cube was, not Gagosian. But we had amazing curators. I think we had Mikhail Petrovsky from the Hermitage. We had Nicholas Rota. A lot of big, Hans Ulrich Obrist came out to do the Global Art Forum. And that was entirely because the DRFC gave some extra investment. And actually it was it's far more than the fair. It was the kind of intellectual rock that it was built on. And that sort of, I think, gave what became Art Dubai real credibility around the world. And people woke up and they sort of, this is really exciting. Suddenly it wasn't the city of just bling and being superficial, kind of shopping malls. Suddenly this was an intellectual centre, serious intellectual centre, and things were happening. And anything could happen in Dubai, we all know that. So that's kind of the story of it.
I think the Global Art Forum is also what made it intellectual, like you said, between the galleries and that.
Yeah.
And it's just been getting better since then. So.
Yeah, and I think that first year was an awful lot of very high profile, predominantly Western curators and things going blah blah blah. And the second year, then we got far more. Then it became all about the region. So great curators came in, they felt confident there. They knew that they had global reach there. And then it became really interesting. So year two, it got really going.
Then the economic crisis happened, and what happened in 2009?
That was brilliant. It's like a forest fire. It was really good for the art fair. I didn't think at the time, I panicked at the time, but Ben panicked at the time. But it was really good because it meant that we focused entirely on what we were, more on on galleries more from the region. You know, I think that coming from London, I was besotted with the idea of bringing the big name Western galleries to our art fair, because I thought that's the kind of target that one has to reach. But actually, all these museum curators and directors and collectors, they didn't want to come in and see galleries they see every year at Art Basel or the Armory. They wanted to discover new galleries. They wanted to discover your gallery, and they discovered it.
Yeah, 2010 was magical for us. And I actually have it on camera saying that I remember emailing John December 2009. I only represented one artist. The gallery was less than it was almost 3 years old, or around 3 years old. And you said, Rami, please come in. And thank you.
But you had style, everything you did, it was a beautiful stand. You know, you really thought about it, and it was, I think a lot of people did. People took it really seriously. This was...
I think so.
Yeah.
And how have you seen, what would you say, 10 years later, what are the biggest changes
Here?
Yeah.
I mean, Al-Sakal Avenue is extraordinary. So I came here for the first time, 3 years ago. I saw your show last year, and I love it. It's, you know, it was back to 2006, 7. There were tiny galleries, and now you've got this. It's that ambition. It's just extraordinary. You know, people aren't satisfied with just a small gallery. They want huge spaces, and the shows to fill them that are appropriate for it. So that everything's ambitious. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm really excited about Al-Sakal.
What's the highlight of the fair so far for you this year?
Stand B12.
Stand B12.
So it's the first year I've exhibited.
It's the first year?
Yeah, I never exhibited before. So I've been given a very small booth. Not given, charged at an exorbitant rate. A booth at the back of the fair. It was really nice there. It's so fun to be back and seeing everyone. And I've got a young Nigerian artist I'm showing called Ade Adesina, and so it's a sort of debut for him, and actually it's a brilliant audience for him. And a Welsh artist I've shown for 20 years called Neil Howells, who I love, and I thought would do well with him. And it's been great, it's been fun.
As a gallerist for 25 years, any advice you want to give to people starting in the field?
I think it's a very difficult time now. I think this depends where you are and where you want to go. You know, when I started, it was. I mean, in London, there were hardly any contemporary galleries. I mean, people forget this. In '92, you know, you could probably count the sort of well-known contemporary galleries on one hand. I mean, there weren't very many, and it sort of changed dramatically when Frieze and Tate Modern started.
I think also White Cube showed people the possibilities.
Yeah, and again, London became more of an international city art-wise, but then it was very easy to start off, and then I had a little gallery and people walked in and I sold them paintings. It was pretty easy. Now it's so much harder for galleries. They got to be experts at business, leases, employment regulations. They got to be doing art fairs. They got to know about social media. I mean, it's really complicated, and they have to perform at the very highest level. I mean, in '92, I sent out, printed a card, gave someone a glass of wine, and that's all we had to do. It was easy. Now it's so much harder. It's really, really tough, and it's incredibly competitive. Your presentation has to be perfect. It has to be flawless. Otherwise, no one's going to take you seriously. But at the same time, you know, it becomes a bit soulless. Sometimes you can find that a lot of galleries are doing the same thing. They're very perfect. And after a while, 100 galleries in an art fair, which are all perfect, it's a bit boring. I quite like seeing a bit of rough, raw art every now and then, because it sort of calibrates you.
And after 25 years, what would you say is your relationship with art now?
Such a difficult question. I think as a gallery, you'd know, I mean, as a gallery owner, you have to be involved with the artists, not the objects anymore. I mean, I don't collect, I mean, occasionally I buy things, but it's not, for me, it's about collecting or anything. It's not about the objects, it's about dealing with artists and finding new artists. I mean, that's the thing that gets me up in the morning, gets me excited about going to work. and and have it building up that relationship. And over 25 years, I mean, this is the one thing that happens, is that you lose artists, they die or they have problems. You're involved with all the ups and downs of their lives, so it's a it's a big commitment.
You're like a godfather to them.
Well, I don't think they think that. Evil uncle. Yeah.
Last question, because I know you have a talk. What's your relationship with Dubai after all these years?
Oh, I'm totally loyal to Dubai. I love coming back here. Usually I'm just back here for the fair. I'd love to come back more often. I find I learned more about business and about what is possible here than I ever would in London. I mean, doors opened to me as to do a business. If you've got an idea, people will listen to you and let it happen. However mad it might be, they'll at least give you the chance to get it going. And I don't think there are very many cities in the world that let you do that. So, no, I think the Dubai mentality, that spirit of entrepreneurship, of anything can happen, of possibilities, is here. That is incredible breeding ground for great ideas, and it's an incredible environment, I think, of how businesses, how artists, how culturally we're going to evolve over the next 100 years. I would look at what goes on here far more than I would in London.
Thank you very much.
Really,
much appreciated. Beautiful.
It's nice to be here again. Yeah.
People like this person right here, the star chef.
Hello, hello.
The star chef right here.
How's your Dubai experience been?
It's been nice.
Why?
Just been cooking for the patrons.
Patrons?
The patrons of the arts. Art enthusiasts.
Is anyone a patron?
This is a patron right here.
I'm an art enthusiast and a patron. The patron is a bad thing. I'm not a patron, but
Patron's not bad.
I don't know the exact definition, so I'm not gonna say I do. I don't know how to English. Inglesi mafi.
Vikram, how's your Dubai experience?
So far so good. Yeah, can't complain. We are waiting for Friday, Saturday to boom.
To boom?
Yeah.
What are you booming?
We're booming some sandwiches, some carrot tea, and some satellite coffee. That's all. Thank you.
How's your Dubai experience been?
Well, so far, alhamdulillah. Like, first of all, I'm happy that I still have the energy to calmly speak with friends. No rushing or anything. It's mainly been about friends for me, this Art Dubai. And with the film, it's about history, whether it's about a bit of history, but also we're actually talking a lot about the present and a bit about the future. How's your Art Dubai?
So far, I haven't been to much, but I plan to go to Medina Jumeirah. Hopefully today or tomorrow.
That's good.
Check it out.
This is year 12 of the art fair.
Year 12? Is this your first documentary of Dubai?
Of Art Dubai, yeah, for sure.
How's your videographer? How's he doing?
We always post video when that song plays. We're like posing to it. You were zoning out something like
Is he tired?
Yeah, today it's funny actually. Sheikh Hamdan's people were here, and Iman, I didn't tell you this. Oh, sorry, 1 second.
You know how many times this happens to me? I'm filming him and he's speaking and then he has to go say hi to someone. It's insane. It is a recurring thing. Like he's gonna put it in, I hope so.
Yeah.
gandahan natin yan. Tupin mo muna pag sinabi kong release, release. Ang problema, masyadong mataas sana.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
So can you explain to me what you're doing with this now?
We're going to fill this with water. So once it's already full, Rex will suppress this one, and then I will purge this one to the aquarium tank, and then when I ask Rex to release, you just do it that way. Then water will come out, and we will start to suction the silk.
Beautiful. Are you going to do this now?
I hope my concern is the height. I hope that it will suck. Or if not, we have to use the motor pump. The motor pump is only for clearing the water, to make it clear, crystal clear. That's why we make use of this foam. And it will go back, just cycle.
When are you going to start? You're going to try?
Yeah, we're going to try it now, and that's why I will prepare this one.
So if you are, I'd rather wait and film it when you do it.
All right, let's see. If it's, I hope it's successful.
I hope it works. Okay.
My only concern is the height. I hope it will suck.
Let's try. Inshallah, it will succeed.
Ayun natin yung unparts. Huwag mo munang i-release, ha? Muna i-release. This one, konti-konti lang. Konti lang.
So, can you tell me about the project you just started for Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, we started an artist-run space in Abu Dhabi. We're 5 artists in the villa we rented in Al-Noor. And actually, the story behind the villa, it used to be Mohammed al-Nazroui's villa, and now we took over, but he moved to Egypt for the time being. Yeah, that's what's happening, and we have a residency space, and yeah.
And so the rooms, you turned them into studios for each one of you?
Yeah.
One space for residencies? And was it right? You said the Majlis, you turned it into a gallery?
Yes. With proper lighting, we built up walls, proper exhibition space, you know, and it's all done by us five physically. I mean, we are doing everything.
And do you have a name for the space?
Bait.
Bait?
As like
house?
لا.
Ah, bait.
Like, we hook in people and like hopefully يعني that starts a movement in the scene, especially in Abu Dhabi, because there is a lot, and that's you know, that's a big gap. يعني we need to have a community, you know.
But already you're showing possibilities of what can be done, so that's great. Please let us know when your next opening is, and we'll all go, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay.
Thank you, Habibi.
Okay, yalla. Okay, good luck.
Actually, the stickers, you know, only nobody ever asked us to remove, but in galleries when we saw stickers, we said we didn't have size. Others are telling us, can you please put something on
You're going to put shock in the tank?
No, we're using the findings of Sheikh Hamdan.
Jesus, aren't
Thanks, Habibi.
Also perfected the acoustics of incarceration, building a prison where the walls are used as weapons, creating prisoners who see nothing but hear everything, who are both completely confined and yet totally exposed. They exploited and built this archetype throughout the 60s and 70s in the Eastern Bloc, in Colombia, in Angola, in Egypt, in Lebanon, and in Syria. The combination of its German origins and its three-pronged style design, whenever it was built, they locally referred to it as the Mercedes-Benz of prisons. In 2016, I learned the full extent of this acoustic architectural design when I began an acoustic investigation into a prison that was modeled.
Hi. Good.
Can you tell me a bit about what you're doing at the British Council?
Sure, I can. We just wrapped up a year, so we did a year of creative collaboration between the UK and the UAE. You might have seen a number of projects we did last year across the Emirates, all 7 Emirates, 270 events across art forms, which was fascinating, fun to do.
Where?
Everywhere. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, everywhere.
Did you say 270?
270 events, I thought something like 50 projects. But like film festival, around the Dubai Film Festival, Sharjah Book Fair. We brought the Quranic Leaves exhibition. Did you see it? The digital exhibition of the Quranic Leaves, which we found in the archives of the University of Birmingham in the UK. Carbon dated to the time of the Prophet. Then brought out a digital exhibition here to the Sharjah Book Fair. His Highness Sheikh Sultan Sheikh Mohammed came to visit the exhibition. It was hugely popular. Took it to Al Park in you didn't see it?
I missed it.
We're obviously not doing very well with
in the paper, but
it was brilliant. It's coming to D3 in April, so you'll see it at D3. It's a brilliant exhibition, fantastic. It's a digital exhibition of the Quranic leaves. The 2 leaves that they found, but there's so much work they've done around the carbon dating of them and kind of the story of these 2 leaves lost in the kind of archives for 100 years.
How long have you been in Dubai now?
I've been in Dubai 18 months, 6 months at the British Council. Before that I was working in anything that was going on.
And what's your relationship with your city, with the city?
With this city?
Yeah.
Well, what is my relationship with this city? I have no idea. I do love this country. With this city, I don't know. Here, we moved here just as a exciting new place to come and try. I worked with the British Museum for a while and worked on projects in the Middle East, so with Iraq, Saudi, Oman. And this place is interesting. It's an interesting part of the world. There's a lot of energy here. Dubai and the UAE has so much exciting potential around young people and the energy and kind of belief that you can change the world or you can do things. I think in the UK you feel a little bit of kind of pressure on you and that it will be too hard to change and we can't do this, it's too big. I think in Dubai you don't feel that. You look around at what's possible. 20, 30 years ago the skyline of Dubai was completely different to what you see now. I heard a story today. Someone from the Ministry of Education was talking to me and said a story about Sheikh Rashid and Sheikh Mohammed about in 1972, maybe 1973. Sheikh Rashid took him to Sheikh Mohammed down to where now Jebel Ali Port is with a consultant and said, "Here is where I want Jebel Ali Port to be here." The consultant said, "Crazy, what are you doing? Why are you building a port in the desert? Nobody's going to want to use it." And he said to him on the side and said, "Nobody wants to use it now. No one's going to need to use it now for like 10, 15 years. 40 years time, this port's going to be needed. It's Dubai, it's going to be here, and you're going to need to use it. And how would we be without Jebel Ali Port?" Is that vision that you have, and I think you're really lucky in the UAE to have visionary leaders at the right time and the kind of it's like a can-do attitude. Nothing's too big or too hard or too difficult, and you think about things creatively, differently, innovation, and with this sort of sense of we can do anything, achieve anything. It's a big draw, it's a magnetic pull for people to come here, especially in the creative sector. I'm waffling now, just chatting.
No worries, actually useful. And in terms of the British Council, what year did it start?
Here in MENA?
Global, like in
globally? You're testing me now. 1938 or 39, I think. 39, interesting because it's an organisation that sets out for cultural relations to foster friendly, kind of mutual understanding between UK and countries around the world. And unique that it started in 1939, the year in which Europe was not looking for cultural relations with anybody at the beginning of World War II. It's a really difficult time in European history. The British Council started then working around the world. And in MENA, this year is the 80th anniversary of the office opening in Cairo, the first one in the MENA region. Here in Dubai, I've been here for a long while, since the 70s, since unification. I do a lot across all sorts.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
That's great.
I don't know how great. I've been waffling on about things.
بس شفت واحد جاليري مخبط شوية بس
We know what the arguments are.
You know the portrait of Obama with the leaves behind it that just got done?
Significance in the sense